The sun rose slowly over the forest, spilling warm gold across the treetops. Birds sang, monkeys chattered, and far away in the village of Ajikan, a deep, steady sound rolled through the air, doom, 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 doom. It was the voice of Ilu, the talking drum. In Ajikan, the drum was more than an instrument. It was a messenger. The people used it to call meetings, warn of danger, or send news to other villages. The drum's sound could travel far, through hills, rivers, and even into the deep forest where the animals lived. But there was something most humans did not know: some animals understood the drum's language. One of them was Osha, a clever brown monkey with quick hands and bright eyes. Osha had learned the drum's rhythms from the village drummers when he was a baby, stealing roasted corn and listening from the trees. Over time, he understood every beat. This morning, the message was simple. Good harvest, meeting in the square, food for all. Osha's tail swayed happily. A harvest feast meant there would be plenty of fruit and roasted yams left behind in the village, which he could sneak to later. But far from the village, deep in the dark part of the forest, another pair of ears caught the sound: Oba, the tiger. Oba was huge, with golden brown fur marked by black stripes. His yellow eyes narrowed as he listened. He understood the drum too, though not as well as Osha. What he heard today made him pause. Food, plenty, meeting. Oba's stomach growled. Food meant animals would come close to the village. Farmers might leave goats or chickens outside their huts while they celebrated. And that meant easy hunting. Oba licked his lips. But as he thought about the drum, a new idea crept into his mind. The drum had power. When it spoke, everyone, human and animal, listened. If he could control it, he could send any message he wanted. He could command the animals to bring him food. He could tell the village to leave meat at the forest edge. Yes, the drum could make him the ruler of both forest and village. Oba smiled a slow, dangerous smile. Far above, in the branches of an iroko tree, Okuta the tortoise munched on fresh leaves. Tortoises were not supposed to be in trees, but Okuta had tricks. He had persuaded a parrot to carry him up branch by branch so he could eat without worrying about snakes. Okuta was old, slow, and full of wisdom. He knew Oba's ways. The tiger ruled by fear, forcing smaller animals to serve him. If Oba learned about the drum's true power, the whole forest would suffer. Okuta's small eyes watched Oba move toward the village path. He sighed. That tiger is trouble again, he muttered. I must warn Osha. Later that day, Osha was practicing his drumming on a hollow log when Okuta arrived, carried by the parrot. Osha, Okuta began, Oba is thinking about the talking drum. He wants to control it. Osha froze. Control the drum? But that's impossible. It belongs to the village. Okuta shook his head. The drum is only safe while it is in the village. If Oba takes it, he will make the animals obey his commands. And humans too. Osha's hands tightened on his log drum. Then we must protect Ilu. The drum must never leave the square. But Okuta's voice was grave. It will not be easy. Oba is strong, and he is patient. He will wait for the right moment. Osha's mind raced. The harvest feast would bring many people to the square, but also leave the drum unguarded at night. Far away, Oba crouched in the shadows, watching the village. His eyes glowed in the firelight from the feast. Soon, very soon, the talking drum would be his. The village square of Ajikan was alive with laughter, drumming, and the smell of roasted yams, spicy goat meat, and fresh palm wine. Long wooden tables were covered with food, and the sound of Ilu, the talking drum, echoed between the huts. The drummers played fast, joyful rhythms. Children danced in circles, their bare feet beating the dusty ground. Women in bright Ankara wrappers swayed to the music, beads clicking around their necks. Hunters told stories about their bravery while sipping from calabash bowls. Osha sat in the tall mango tree beside the square, eyes fixed on the talking drum. It rested on a wooden stand near the chief's chair. Two young men were in charge of guarding it, but they were more interested in flirting with the girls than watching the drum. Down on the ground, Baba Ade, the village chief, moved from group to group, greeting everyone. He was tall, with a white beard and a deep voice. He wore a fine Agboda robe of blue and white, and a cap decorated with cowrie shells. Osha respected Baba Ade. The chief had always told the people not to hunt more than they needed, so the forest could stay alive. That was why Osha had taught himself to read the drum's messages, so he could help keep peace between the humans and animals. But tonight, Osha felt uneasy. Somewhere beyond the light of the fires, in the blackness of the forest, Oba was waiting. Far away among the trees, Oba crouched low. His nose twitched at the smell of roasted meat. His ears caught the thump of the talking drum. He was not here for the food, not yet. His eyes were locked on the drum itself. He waited until the music grew louder and the laughter rose high. Then, moving like a shadow, he padded closer to the village edge. His stripes melted into the darkness. No one noticed. In the mango tree, Osha's sharp eyes caught a flicker of movement. His stomach tightened. "It's him," Osha whispered. He swung down from branch to branch and dropped onto the ground near the goat pen. From there, he could see the path Oba was taking, straight toward the chief's stand. Meanwhile, Okuta the tortoise was still in the forest. The parrot had flown him down from the tree earlier, and he was making his slow way toward the village. He wanted to be there in case Oba caused trouble. But slow feet cannot outrun a tiger's plan. Back in the square, the two guards at the drum stand were distracted. One had gone to get palm wine, the other was trying to impress a girl with his dance steps. That was the moment Oba had been waiting for. He moved silently through the shadows until he was just a few steps from the drum. His massive body stayed low. His tail did not move. Then, ahem, came a small voice. Oba froze. He turned his head slightly and saw Osha, standing right in front of him, arms folded. "And where do you think you're going, Stripes?" Osha asked in a low voice. Oba's eyes narrowed. "Out of my way, monkey. This drum will be mine." Osha shook his head. "The drum belongs to the village. If you touch it, Baba Ade will know. And so will I." Oba bared his teeth. "Then maybe I should start with you." The tiger took one step forward, but Osha leapt back into the tree, his tail flicking. From above, he let out a loud monkey cry, a warning sound that made some hunters look toward the forest. Oba hissed under his breath and melted back into the shadows. It was too risky to take the drum now. But he wasn't finished. Oh no, he would be back. Later that night, after the feast, Osha found Okuto near the village gate. "He came for the drum," Osha said. "I stopped him this time, but he'll try again." Okuto's eyes were calm but serious. "Then we must be ready. The next time, he will be smarter. And hungrier." In the forest, Oba lay under a tree, his mind already working. "If I cannot take it from the square," he thought, "I will make them bring it to me." And in the distance, the talking drum sat silent, unaware that its rhythms had just started a war. The forest was quiet the next morning, but Oba the tiger was already awake, pacing under a large cotton tree. His yellow eyes glowed with a dangerous idea. "If the drum will not come to me," he thought, "then I will make the village bring it here." He knew that when there was trouble in the forest, a fire, a wild elephant, or a dangerous animal near the farms, the talking drum was carried to the trouble spot so the drummers could send messages and guide people to safety. If he could trick them into believing there was danger, they would bring the drum out of the square. Then he could strike. Oba needed help. Not from a friend, he had none, but from someone desperate enough to obey him. He went to the termite mound where Hyena lived. Hyena was greedy and always looking for scraps. When Oba found him, Hyena was chewing on an old bone. "Hyena," Oba said, "I have work for you. If you do it well, I will share fresh goat meat with you." Hyena's ears twitched. "Goat meat? What's the work?" "You will go near the farms," Oba said, "and make a mess. Knock down baskets, scatter cassava, break fences. Make it look like elephants came in the night. Then run into the village shouting that the elephants are still nearby." Hyena's eyes gleamed. "And then the chief will send the talking drum to the farms, so they can warn the hunters. That is when I will take it." Hyena grinned, his sharp teeth flashing. "Easy work." That night, while the moon hid behind clouds, Hyena did as he was told. He crept to the edge of the farms, biting through fence ropes and overturning yam baskets. He broke plantain stems and even rolled in the dirt to leave confusing tracks. Then, at dawn, he ran into the village, howling, "Elephants! Elephants at the farms! They will destroy everything." The villagers woke in panic. Women grabbed their children, hunters reached for spears, and Baba Ode came out in his robe, frowning deeply. "Bring the talking drum," the chief ordered. "We will send a warning to the other farms." 2 young drummers carried Ilu on its stand toward the farms, followed by the hunters. In the forest shadows, Oba saw them coming. His heart beat faster. High above in a tree, Osha the monkey had been watching. He saw the drummers leave the village and frowned. "That is strange," he thought. "There were no elephant calls last night." He swung through the branches, following the drummers. When he looked ahead, he caught a flash of stripes behind a termite mound. His eyes widened. "It's a trap," Osha muttered. At the farms, the drummers set down Ilu and began to play the warning rhythm. "Danger near, elephants close, send help." Their beats roared across the land, reaching other farms. But Oba was already moving. He crept low through the grass, closer and closer to the drum. The hunters were busy checking tracks. Hyena was laughing quietly to himself. When Oba was just a few steps away, he tensed his muscles, ready to pounce. Then, crash! A shower of palm nuts fell from the tree above, landing on the drummers and hunters. Everyone looked up. Osha hung there, swinging from a branch. "It's a trick," he shouted in the human language he had learned. "No elephants. Tiger wants the drum." The hunters spun around just in time to see Oba charging forward. They shouted and waved their spears, forming a wall in front of the drum. Oba stopped, snarling. He could fight the hunters, but he might be injured, and a wounded tiger does not last long in the forest. With a furious growl, he turned and vanished into the trees. Back in the village, Baba Ode listened to Osha's story. He stroked his beard. "Tiger is cunning," the chief said. "We must be more careful. The drum will not leave the square again without extra guards." Osha and Okuta exchanged a look. They both knew Oba would not give up. He had tasted the idea of power, and he would keep trying until he found a way. Deep in the forest, Oba lay in the shade, licking his paw. His eyes burned with anger. "The monkey has stopped me twice," he thought. "But next time, I will deal with him first." The morning after his failed plan, Oba the tiger sat by a stream, staring at his reflection in the water. His ears flicked in anger. "Twice," he growled to himself. "Twice that noisy monkey has ruined everything. If I want the talking drum, I must silence him first." He knew Osha was clever and fast. Chasing him through the trees would be useless. He needed a way to make the monkey come down to the ground and stay there. Oba thought about the animals Osha cared for. The monkey was always helping the smaller ones, warning the antelope of hunters, guiding baby birds to safe branches, and sharing food with the bush fowls. Yes, Oba thought, I will use his kindness against him. That evening, Oba went to the part of the forest where the bush fowls lived. They were scratching the ground for seeds when they saw him. They froze in fear. "I mean no harm," Oba said smoothly. "In fact, I came to warn you. I heard that a trap has been set near the big kola tree. A strong net that will catch any bird who goes there. But my claws are too big to cut it. You need someone small and clever, perhaps your friend Osha." The bush fowls exchanged nervous glances. They trusted Osha and believed he could help. They thanked Oba and hurried off to find the monkey. Osha was resting on a thick branch, nibbling on ripe pawpaw, when the bush fowls arrived in a flurry of feathers. "Osha! Osha!" they cried. "There's a net trap near the big kola tree. Oba told us, he said you could free it before it catches someone." At the mention of Oba, Osha's eyes narrowed. But the thought of a bird trapped and suffering made him push aside his doubts. "I'll go now," he said. "Stay here." Near the kola tree, the forest was unusually quiet. No wind, no bird calls. Osha landed on the ground and saw a pile of leaves moving slightly. He pulled them aside and saw a small bush fowl chick tangled in rope. "Oh no," Osha murmured, reaching to untangle it. That's when he heard a low growl behind him. Oba stepped out from the shadows, his eyes glowing. "Looking for trouble, monkey?" Osha's heart pounded. He looked back at the chick and realized it wasn't real. It was made of dried grass and feathers, tied into the rope. A trap for him. Osha leapt toward the trees, but Oba pounced. His claws scraped the ground where Osha had stood a second before. The monkey scrambled up a trunk, but Oba's paw caught his tail. Osha squealed and kicked, breaking free, leaving a tuft of fur in Oba's claws. Oba snarled and leapt again, but Osha was already swinging through the branches, moving faster than ever. Osha didn't stop until he reached Okuto's hut, a hollow log by the river. He dropped down, panting. "Oba tried to trap me," he said. "He even made a fake chick to fool me." Okuto's eyes were grave. "That means he is getting desperate. If he cannot take the drum while you are alive, he will keep trying to end you." Osha sighed. "Then we need a plan, not just to protect the drum, but to stop Oba for good." Deep in the forest, Oba sat in the dark, claws digging into the ground. The next time, he promised himself, there would be no escape. The moon was thin and silver above the forest when Osha crept into Okuto's hut. The tortoise was polishing a piece of smooth stone with his slow, steady movements. "We can't just wait for Oba to attack again," Osha said. "He will keep trying until he gets the drum or catches me. We need to trap him first." Okuto looked up, his small eyes thoughtful. "Agreed. But how do you catch a tiger? His eyes see in the dark, his nose smells danger, and his legs are faster than yours." Osha's tail twitched. "By using the one thing he wants most, the talking drum." At first, Okuto shook his head. "Too risky. If something goes wrong, he'll take it for real." "But think," Osha said. "If we control the trap, we control the risk. We'll make him believe the drum is unguarded, and when he comes for it, we'll spring our plan." Okuto was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. "It can work. But we'll need help." The next morning, Osha and Okuto went to the forest clearing where parrot, antelope, and bushfowl often met. They explained the plan. The parrot would fly to the village and imitate the voice of one of the guards, calling for help away from the drum stand. Antelope would run in the open near the square to create a distraction. Bushfowl would scatter grain to attract chickens from the farms, adding to the confusion. While the guards were busy, the drum would be moved just far enough into the forest to make it look like it had been left unprotected. Then, hidden hunters and animals would surround the spot. In the village, Boba Ade listened to the plan carefully. At first, his brow furrowed. "You want to use Ilu as bait for a tiger?" the chief asked. "Yes," Osha said. It's the only way to stop him for good. If he keeps trying, someone will get hurt, animal or human. Baba Ode stroked his beard. Then he gave a single nod. Very well. But I will choose the hunters. They must be the best. That night, the village square was quiet. The talking drum sat on its stand, lit by the glow of a single fire. 2 guards stood watch. Then, right on cue, the parrot's voice rang out from the far end of the village, "Help! Come quick!" It sounded exactly like one of the guards. Both guards looked at each other and ran toward the voice. A moment later, antelope dashed across the square, making the women scream and run for cover. Chickens flapped everywhere, stirred up by the bushfowl's grain trick. In the chaos, 2 hunters quietly carried the drum to the edge of the forest, placing it in a small clearing. They stepped back into the shadows, spears ready. Osha and Okuto hid in the branches above, their eyes scanning the darkness. Far in the forest, Oba lifted his head. He had been watching from a distance, waiting for a chance. Now he saw it, the talking drum, alone in the clearing. His mouth curled in a satisfied grin. "Fools," he whispered, and began to stalk forward. Every step was silent. His body was low, his tail still. His eyes never left the drum. When he was just a few paces away, he sprang. And the ground beneath him gave way. With a roar, Oba fell into a deep pit, cleverly covered with branches and leaves. The hunters had dug it days earlier, and now it held the furious tiger thrashing at the walls. Osha leapt down from the tree, grinning. Looking for something, stripes. Oba snarled, but his claws scraped uselessly against the smooth pit walls. Okuto stepped forward slowly. "Your rule of fear ends here, Oba. You will not trouble the drum, or the forest, again." Baba Ode emerged from the shadows with the hunters. "This tiger has caused enough trouble. We will take him far away, across the river where he cannot return." As Oba was bound with thick ropes, he glared at Osha with burning eyes. "This is not the end, monkey." Osha just smiled. "It is for me." The hunters tied Oba with thick ropes made from twisted palm fiber. His front legs were bound together, as were his back legs, and another rope looped around his neck. Even so, his muscles bulged as he pulled against them. Baba Ode chose 4 of the strongest hunters to carry him on a wooden sled. The plan was simple: they would travel at night to avoid the heat, cross the wide Oporo River before sunrise, and release Oba on the far side, deep into a forest he did not know. Osha, Okuta, and Parrot followed behind, watching every step. The first hours were quiet except for the sound of insects and the shuffle of feet. But Osha never relaxed. He knew a tiger's strength, and he knew Oba's mind was always working. Sure enough, just as they reached the riverbank, Oba spoke. "You think ropes will hold me forever? You think this river can keep me away?" His voice was low, almost calm. Baba Ode ignored him. "We cross now," he told the hunters. The men began to push the sled toward the small wooden raft waiting at the shore. The moonlight shone on the black water, and the current moved lazily. As the hunters stepped onto the raft, Oba suddenly threw all his weight to one side. The sled tipped sharply, nearly toppling 2 men into the water. The raft rocked violently. One of the ropes holding Oba's back leg slipped loose. "Hold him!" Osha shouted from the shore. But Oba twisted hard, snapping the rope on his front legs. In one powerful leap, he landed in the shallow water, sending a spray into the air. Panic broke out. The hunters stumbled back. Osha jumped from a branch to land in front of Oba, blocking the path to the trees. The tiger's eyes locked on him. "Move, monkey. This time, there will be no escape for you." But before Oba could lunge, there was a loud splash. Okuta the tortoise had slid into the water and begun swimming toward the raft, pushing it with all his strength. "Hunters! Pull the raft into the deep water." Okuta shouted. The hunters reacted quickly, dragging the raft and Oba, still half-bound, farther into the river. The current caught them and began to carry the raft away from the bank. Oba roared in fury, lunging again, but the last rope tightened around his neck, pulling him down. The hunters shoved him flat against the sled, their spears pressing to keep him from moving. Osha climbed onto a rock at the water's edge, watching as the raft drifted toward the far shore. Oba's roars grew fainter, swallowed by the night. When the raft finally vanished into the shadows, Baba Ade let out a long breath. He will be in a forest where he knows nothing, no allies, no path back. Osha nodded, though he kept his eyes on the dark water. Let's hope so. Okuta climbed back onto the shore, dripping wet. It is done, he said simply. The forest around them was quiet again. For the first time in many days, the talking drum would not have to warn of a tiger's schemes. But far away, on the other side of the river, Oba's eyes still burned. He did not know the land, but he knew himself. And in his heart, the beat of the drum still called to him. Days passed after Oba's removal, and the forest slowly returned to its old rhythm. The antelopes grazed without looking over their shoulders. Bush fowls scratched the earth without fear of sudden pounces. Even the parrots sang louder, as though the shadows had been lifted. In the village, Baba Ade called for a feast of thanksgiving. The talking drum was placed in the square, surrounded by fresh flowers and palm leaves. Osha sat on a low branch nearby, chewing sweet mango and smiling at the scene. No tiger, no trouble, he said to himself. Okuta was beside the chief's chair, enjoying a bowl of boiled yam leaves. Sometimes, the tortoise said, peace is the best sound in the forest. That night, the drummers played joyful rhythms until the stars filled the sky. The sound carried far into the hills. But just as the music slowed, a new rhythm roared in from the distance. Doom, 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 doom. It was faint but clear, and it wasn't coming from the village square. Osha froze, ears twitching. He knew the patterns of the talking drum well. This one was not any of the normal signals. It was slower, heavier, almost like a heartbeat. Okuta noticed too. That is not one of the village drummers, he said softly. Baba Ade stood, frowning. No other village is near enough to send that sound. Where is it coming from? Osha climbed high into the mango tree, turning his head toward the forest across the river. The beats seemed to come from there. That's where Oba was taken, Osha murmured. The drumbeat stopped suddenly, leaving the night too quiet. Later, when the crowd had gone, Osha and Okuta stayed in the square. You think it's him? Osha asked. Okuta was slow to answer. If it is, then the tiger has found a drum, or something like it, in the new forest. If he learns to use it, the trouble may not be over. Osha sighed. I was hoping we'd seen the last of him. We may have, Okuta said. Or we may not. But we will be ready, just as before. Above them, the moon hung low, its light silver on the talking drum. Somewhere far away, another drum might have been waiting for its own message to carry, and its own mischief to begin. For days after the strange sound, the village stayed alert. Hunters listened more carefully in the bush. Women fetching water at the stream looked over their shoulders. Even the children stopped playing too far from the square. Osha could not stop thinking about it. He had lived in the forest long enough to know one thing: danger liked to return when you thought it was gone. One morning, just after sunrise, Osha decided to follow the sound's direction. He told Okuta, who sighed and shook his head. You are too curious for your own good, the tortoise said. And you are too slow for trouble, Osha replied. This is why I'll go. Osha moved through the forest, hopping from branch to branch until he reached the wide river. He could smell the wet earth and hear the rushing water. Across the river, the trees were darker, their branches twisted. This was where Oba had been taken after his banishment. Osha swam across quickly. The air on the other side felt heavier. Every sound, the crack of twigs, the rustle of leaves, made him pause. Then he heard it again. Doom, 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 doom. Osha crept forward until he reached a clearing. There, in the middle, was a smaller tiger. Its fur was lighter than Oba's, and its eyes were young but sharp. Before it sat a strange object, a hollow tree trunk stretched with dried skin, shaped like a drum. The young tiger struck it with its paw, testing the sound. Osha's heart sank. If this young one learned to send messages, the forest would never know peace. He turned to run back and tell Baba Ade, but then a voice stopped him. You must be the monkey who caught Oba. It was the young tiger. She stood up, the drum beside her. Oba told me about you. He said you were clever. Osha swallowed hard. And what do you plan to do with that drum? Tell my family where food is, she said simply. The forest on our side is empty. We are hungry. For a moment, Osha thought of the fear Oba had caused. But looking at her, he saw no cruelty, only hunger. He nodded slowly. If I show you a place to find food without harming the village, will you leave that drum alone? The young tiger hesitated, then nodded. If you are telling the truth. Osha guided her to an old banana grove far from the village. Wild pigs and antelope often came there. It was enough to feed her family without crossing into human land. When she left, she dragged the drum into the river and let it sink. That evening, Osha returned to the village. The people were gathered in the square, worried. There is no danger, Osha said. The drum has been silenced. Baba Ode smiled and struck the talking drum once. Then let this be the last bit of fear. The whole square cheered. And though the forest would always have its challenges, the story of the tiger and the talking drum became a lesson for all, that not every problem must end in war, and sometimes peace begins with a choice.